Have you ever felt like Earth isn't your true home? Like no matter how much you achieve, there's a quiet sense of completion, a whisper that says, you've done this before, and you're almost done. Some people walk through life as if they're gathering experiences, building something unseen. Others, however, move through this world with a mysterious sense of finality. Not despair, but peace. Not detachment, but understanding. A strange, sacred clarity that this might be their last dance with the human experience. Could that be you? What if the challenges you faced, the emotional heaviness, the strange synchronicities, the deep pull towards spiritual truths, weren't just random events, but part of your soul's final initiation? In this video, we're going to explore 7 powerful signs that you may be in your last incarnation. And I don't mean that metaphorically. I mean you've done this cycle of birth and death many, many times. And now, you're approaching the end of it. You're not escaping life. You're completing it. You're graduating. We'll look at real spiritual indicators, psychological patterns, and ancient wisdom that point to a soul in its final lap. But more than that, you'll discover that everything you've been through wasn't just suffering or chaos. It was preparation. Preparation for something incredibly rare and beautiful. So stay with me until the end, because if you resonate with even 3 of these signs, it may confirm what your intuition has been whispering all along. You're not here to build a life. You're here to release it, and that release could change everything. If you've ever had the feeling, I've been here too long, you're not alone. Let's find out why. From early childhood, you felt different, not better, not superior, just older. As if you had memories that didn't belong to your current life. You looked around at the other children and wondered why they seemed so absorbed in play while you were already thinking about death, purpose, or the meaning of it all. You may have been called too serious, too sensitive, or even too wise for your age. But you weren't trying to be different. Something inside you just wouldn't let you forget. Forget what? You weren't sure. But it felt ancient. This is one of the most common signs of a soul nearing the end of its incarnational cycle. The lessons feel repetitive. The dramas feel predictable. Even the joys can feel bittersweet, because part of you remembers, you've tasted this before. Have you ever experienced déjà vu so intense, it feels like time folds in on itself? Or a sudden awareness of past lives, dreams that feel more real than waking life? Or an intuitive knowing of places you've never visited? That's not imagination, it's memory. Buddhist teachings describe the final incarnation as one where the soul retains deep karmic memory not as baggage, but as wisdom. You don't remember your past lives clearly, but you feel the residue of thousands of lifetimes in your bones. You understand people too quickly. You sense patterns immediately. And you often feel exhausted, not just physically, but existentially. As if your soul has walked a very long road and is now nearing the last turn home. It's not depression. It's not apathy. It's spiritual saturation. And in that saturation, something sacred emerges. Detachment. Not the cold kind, but the kind that allows you to love without clinging, to care without controlling, and to live without fearing the end. If this resonates with you, let me know in the comments. Your experience might mirror someone else's unspoken truth. Ready for the next sign? At some point, you began to feel it. The quiet unraveling. The things that once gave you joy don't hold the same grip anymore. Status, possessions, even certain relationships, they no longer define you. It's not that you don't care, it's that you've outgrown the illusion that they complete you. This isn't apathy. It's an evolution of perspective. In your earlier lifetimes, you may have chased identity through family roles, careers, or social status. You may have clung to ambition, pain, or passion. But now, even when life offers you drama or desire, something within you whispers, Not this time. It's as if your soul is no longer hungry for the game. It's full. Buddhism teaches that the final incarnation often involves the burning away of karma through non-attachment. Not forced detachment, but a natural softening. You no longer try to control outcomes. You surrender more easily. You feel drawn to simplicity, quiet, and the sacred rhythm of the present moment. Have you noticed how you're decluttering? Not just your home, but your identity? You're no longer trying to prove who you are. You're unbecoming. You crave stillness. Nature feels more like home than any place built by humans, and people who once held power over you now seem small. Not in judgment, but in perspective. This isn't just personal growth. It's spiritual shedding, and it's not uncommon for those in their final incarnation to feel an urgency to forgive, to release, to complete unfinished energetic cycles. You might find yourself writing letters to people from decades ago, not to reopen wounds, but to close doors peacefully. Because the soul knows, to graduate, you must travel light. If this idea speaks to your journey, give this video a like, so it reaches others who need it. Let's move into the third sign, one that reveals why you often feel emotionally misunderstood. Ready? Throughout your life, you may have struggled with the feeling that no one truly sees you. Not because you hide. In fact, you often share deeply. But your emotional depth, your complexity, your spiritual clarity, they're hard for others to grasp. You speak from the soul, but many people respond from the surface. This isn't arrogance. It's the quiet pain of being inwardly advanced in a world that values outward noise. You might have tried to fit in, to soften your truths, or dim your perceptions just to feel less alien. But no matter how hard you tried, there was always that subtle loneliness. Not just from people, but from this entire plane of existence. Yet paradoxically, this emotional disconnect came with a strange spiritual intimacy. You may feel deeply connected to something greater, a higher intelligence, a guiding presence, the source. Even when you're alone, you're not lonely. And in moments of stillness, you receive insights, nudges, or inner knowings that seem to come from beyond you. It's as if your soul is already communicating with the next realm. This is a profound sign of a soul in its final embodiment. You're not here to build new relationships of karma. You're here to resolve them. That often means fewer entanglements, fewer dramas, and fewer egoic connections. But what replaces them is deeper. Soul companions, brief but sacred encounters, synchronicities that guide your path like breadcrumbs from your higher self. Have you noticed you don't argue anymore? You don't need to be right. You'd rather be kind. And when someone misunderstands you, you no longer feel the urge to explain. Because somewhere in your spirit, you know, some connections are meant to be felt, not proven. That inner calm, that's not detachment, it's completion. If this has ever made you feel lonely, you're not alone. Share in the comments. Your voice might be the echo someone else has been waiting to hear. Next, let's talk about the strange magnetic pull you feel toward spiritual truths, even ones you've never studied. Ready to go deeper? Have you ever read something spiritual for the first time and felt like you already knew it? Like the words weren't teaching you but reminding you? This is one of the most telling signs of a soul in its final incarnation. You don't seek spirituality out of curiosity. You return to it like an old friend. When you read sacred texts, hear spiritual teachings, or even watch a video like this, something deep inside you says, "Yes, I remember." You might find yourself drawn to Eastern philosophies, ancient mysticism, or universal spiritual laws without ever having been formally exposed to them. The law of karma, the nature of non-duality, the illusion of ego. These aren't theories to you. They're home truths. Even if you can't explain them intellectually, you feel them viscerally. Psychologists call this cryptomnesia, the phenomenon of mistaken memory. But in spiritual circles, it's often seen as soul memory. Your consciousness, having experienced so many lifetimes, retains a spiritual imprint. You're not learning. You're remembering. And this remembrance often comes with a powerful consequence: urgency. The more spiritual truth you absorb, the more you feel compelled to live it. You can no longer tolerate falseness, not in yourself, not in others, not in the systems around you. You're no longer here to accumulate knowledge. You're here to embody wisdom. This is why so many final lap souls turn to teaching, healing, or guiding, not out of ego, but out of overflow. The truth burns too brightly to be kept inside. Have you ever felt like the deeper your spiritual path gets, the lonelier the road becomes? That's not a flaw in your journey. It's part of the purification. As you align with truth, illusions fall away. And while it may feel like you're walking alone, you're actually walking ahead, clearing the path for others to follow. If that strikes something in you, take a deep breath. You're not lost. You're remembering. Let's move to the fifth sign, a strange experience that shows up not in your mind but in your body. Ready to explore? Do you ever look in the mirror and feel disconnected? Not in a self-critical way, but more like, this face doesn't fully represent me. Your body feels familiar, yet foreign, like a suit you've worn many times before, but no longer identify with. This isn't about disliking your appearance. It's a subtle, sacred detachment from form. You sense, deeply, that you are not your body. For those nearing the end of their incarnational journey, this feeling becomes more pronounced. The body begins to feel like a tool, a temple, even a sacred machine, but not you. You take care of it, but you no longer worship it. You understand that it's a temporary vehicle for something eternal. And here's the strange part. Your body may start to mirror this shift. Many old souls in their final incarnation report sudden health sensitivities, mysterious ailments, or energetic discomforts that have no clear medical cause. The body resists certain environments, foods, even people. Why? Because the soul is no longer syncing easily with density. You may find yourself craving more light, literally and metaphorically. Lighter foods, lighter spaces, lighter energy. You feel heavy in crowds but healed in nature. Your body is telling you, we're not here to build permanence, we're here to pass through. And yet, despite these challenges, you begin to feel a new kind of reverence for the body, not as a source of identity, but as a final companion on your earthly path. You treat it with gratitude, not vanity. You listen more closely to its signals. You rest without guilt. You move with intention. You stop fighting age and begin embracing the wisdom it carries because deep down you know. The body is not your prison. It's your parting gift. And when the soul is preparing for release, that gift is honored more, not less. If this message finds a home in your heart, let me know in the comments. There are others out there feeling the same, and your words might be their confirmation. Now let's talk about the sixth sign, a beautiful but intense sense of mission that doesn't involve grand achievements. Curious? Let's go. You're not here to save the world. And yet, you feel like you're here for something important, something sacred, but not in the loud, performative way you once imagined. It's not about fame, fortune, or even legacy. It's about alignment. At some point in your journey, you stop needing to prove your worth. You no longer chase external validation. Instead, you wake up each day with a subtle but unshakable knowing. I'm here to live truth. That's enough. This kind of mission doesn't scream. It whispers. It shows up in the way you hold space for others. The way you bring calm into chaos. The way your very presence shifts rooms, not because of what you say, but because of who you are becoming. People may come to you for advice, comfort, or clarity, often without knowing why. Children and animals might feel inexplicably drawn to you, and in moments of silence, you may hear an inner voice reminding you, just be who you are. That is the work. This quiet mission is a hallmark of the final incarnation, because at this stage, the soul is no longer creating karma, it's dissolving it. Your mission is not to add more story to the world, but to end the cycle, to complete what was left undone, to bless what was once broken. That's why you might feel the urge to simplify, to step away from noise, to live in integrity, even when no one is watching. You're no longer playing the game of Earth, you're closing the loop. And yet your energy is often luminous. You might not call yourself a healer, but people feel better around you. You might not call yourself a teacher, but your words plant seeds that bloom in others long after you've spoken, because your soul, just by being, reminds others of their own. This is the sacred work of a final lapse soul. If you've ever felt invisible yet vital, uncelebrated yet purposeful, that's no accident. Your mission was never meant to be loud. It was meant to be true. If this speaks to your journey, give this video a like so it reaches others who carry the same quiet mission. Let's move into the seventh and final sign, perhaps the most transcendent one of all. Ready to discover, something has shifted. While others may fear death, resist aging, or avoid the topic entirely, you approach it differently, not recklessly, but reverently. Death doesn't feel like the end to you. It feels like a doorway, and somewhere in your soul you're already preparing for it. Not out of dread, but out of sacred anticipation. This is not a death wish. It's a life truth. You've come to understand that this body, this name, this Shetran, it's all part of a greater story. One you've read before, one you're now completing. That's why you live with more grace, less fear, and a strange lightness, even in the face of endings. You don't avoid grief. You bow to it. You don't fight impermanence. You find peace within it. You've begun to see the spiritual architecture behind life's hardest moments, how loss refines you, how silence reveals you, how surrender empowers you. And somewhere along the way you stopped asking, why is this happening to me, and began asking, what is this teaching me? That shift is everything. Buddhism calls this the death of death, not the end of physical mortality, but the end of the ego's terror of non-existence. It's the moment when the soul stops clinging and begins opening. You begin to prepare your heart, not your resume. You value presence over productivity. You seek peace more than progress. And in those quiet moments when you sit alone, gazing out a window or watching the stars, a soft voice within you says, "You're almost done. You've done well. You can rest." This final sign isn't about abandoning life. It's about entering it more fully, because you're no longer afraid of how it ends. You live like someone who's tasted eternity, because in truth, you have. If you've ever felt a sacred stillness around the idea of death, not fear, not sadness, but peace, that may be your soul remembering what comes next, and what comes next is beautiful. Let's now move into the final part of the video. Simple, soulful tools you can use if this resonates with your journey. Practical takeaways for souls who feel like they're in their last incarnation. Ready? If this video has resonated with you, you may be feeling both a sense of clarity and a sense of quiet awe. You're not just alive, you're completing something ancient. And while that can feel overwhelming, there are simple, powerful ways to walk this path with more grace and peace. Here are 5 spiritually aligned tools for those who sense this is their final incarnation. Practice gentle self-review each day. Take 5 minutes at the end of each evening to ask yourself, did I move with kindness today? Did I let go even just a little? Did I align with truth more than comfort? This reflection is not for guilt. It's for release. You're not here to perfect yourself, but to empty what no longer serves. Think of it as soul hygiene, a daily cleansing of energy, emotion, and ego. Create a letting go ritual each week. Set aside time to consciously release something, a belief, a grudge, an attachment. Write it down, bless it, burn or bury the paper. These simple acts have enormous spiritual weight. They signal to your deeper self, I am not clinging anymore. I am ready. Letting go isn't weakness. It's wisdom. Return to the breath. Often. The breath is the bridge between worlds. When emotions rise or confusion clouds your mind, pause and take 3 deep conscious breaths. Inhale light, exhale story. This isn't just calming, it's clearing. It resets the spiritual field and realigns you with what is eternal. Old souls don't need more doing. They need more being. Speak to your soul. Out loud, set aside 5 minutes each morning or night to speak to your soul. Not in meditation, but in conversation. Say things like, I know we've come far. I trust the path, even when I don't see it. Thank you for this body, this breath, this chance to love one more time. It might feel odd at first, but your soul has been waiting for this reunion. When you speak to it with love, it responds. Embrace silence without fear. Turn off the noise. Not forever, but enough to hear what's under the surface. Take silent walks. Drive without music. Sit without a phone. Silence is not empty. It's full of presence. And in that space, your soul speaks. Often in feeling, not words. If silence unnerves you, lean in gently. It may be the most honest conversation you've had in lifetimes. These tools aren't just techniques. They're soul habits, ways of honoring the sacred transition your spirit is making. You don't need to do them perfectly. You just need to remember, you are not lost. You are not broken. You are completing something rare, and even the smallest act of conscious living in this phase carries the weight of entire lifetimes. If you've watched this far, something in you already knows. You're not here to build more. You're here to become less entangled, less burdened, less bound to this world. But that less is actually more. More peace, more clarity, more soul. This journey you're on isn't random. It's not punishment. It's completion. And whether this is truly your last incarnation or just your final major round of earthly karma, the signs are clear. You're waking up. Waking up not to escape, but to remember. You're remembering who you were before the noise, before the names, before the identities. You're remembering that you are not the storm. You are the sky it moves through. You are not the role. You are the awareness behind it. And as you continue walking this path, know this: you're not alone. There are others, quiet, kind, tired, radiant souls, who are feeling the same strange sacred shift. Souls who are done playing the game and ready to walk each step with grace. If you resonated with even 3 of these signs, let that be your invitation. Not to withdraw, but to live more fully. To live with soft eyes, with open hands, with a heart that knows. This too is passing, because when you live as if this is your last life, something magical happens. You start treating everything with reverence. The people, the pain, the silence, the sunrise. Everything becomes a blessing, and everything becomes enough. So I'll leave you with this. What would you do differently if you truly believed this was your last incarnation? What would you let go of? What would you love more deeply? What would you forgive? Answer in the comments. Not for me, but for you. Your words may light the way for someone else walking quietly beside you. And if this video stirred something in your spirit, please like the video to help others find this message. Subscribe for more soul-deep reflections like this. And watch our next video. You were never meant to fit in. The spiritual purpose of feeling like an outsider. Because maybe you weren't meant to belong here. Maybe you were meant to finish here. And maybe, just maybe, this is your final, beautiful return home. Until next time, keep walking gently. You're almost there.